Hello, everyone. Sara Blau here. I decided to do a quick podcast with my good friend, Rivky Boyarsky. And together we wanted to try to quickly explain what in the world is going on with Protect Chinuch. Now, I know everyone is amazing and everyone hopped on board and signed and got people to share, but we wanted to quickly explain what are these regulations, what's going on. So, hi, Rivky. Tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll delve right into it.
Hi. Okay. So my name is Rivky Boyarsky. I am first and foremost a wife and a mother in the community. I have 5 beautiful children who go to our community schools here in New York. Yeah. And yeah, 5 beautiful children, as you can hear. And I'm also a nurse, midwife, and kala teacher. So I straddle both worlds, being in our community, being out of our community. And I get to see things from a little bit of a different perspective sometimes. So that's one point I want to make. The other point I want to make that I think is very important, and I think maybe other people who got the forward or saw the flyers kind of feel the same way that I felt initially. There are a lot of things that go around our community. A lot of people are very passionate. A lot of people really take causes to heart. And things get forwarded all the time. We get them all the time. And we kind of like when we see things in 5, 6 groups, sometimes maybe we just like, whoop, next, whatever. It's one of those things. I may not agree with it. I don't know if I want to waste my time on it. I don't know what's happening. Do I care what's happening? My life is good. You know, my little bubble of my home and my whatever. Do I really have to hear? So when Sara reached out to me and said, Rivky, can you get involved? I was like, sure. And I did it really because Sara and I are friends. And I was like, okay, no problem. I'll hop on. And as I watched this WhatsApp back and forth, I realized that this was intriguing. This was something that was important. This is something I need to listen to. But again, I kind of was a little bit skeptical. I was like, okay, so it sounds really good on these from publications and our viewpoint pieces and our opinion pieces. It sounds like something that I really need to support, but I want to see this bill itself. Now, I was forwarded a short portion of it, the summary of it. That's on the website. And I actually went back to the original, which is not a short thing to read. It's a long read and it's a slow read, but I took the time on Motzei Shabbos to go through it. And I asked questions because there were, things I didn't fully understand. I'm not in the realm of education in that sort of way, that I didn't understand all the words, that I didn't understand all the concepts. I didn't understand why we couldn't do different pathways and different things. And I gained a very, very, nice understanding of what's happening. I also listened to a lawyer discuss about it, and I read a bunch of, I did everything that was out there.
So in short, is it serious? Is this a real thing?
So yes, not only is it a real thing, it's something that is mind-boggling that we were quiet about it since this actually started, which was not just now, right? So this is something that's an ongoing thing that we should have been up in arms about. And we definitely should have been up in arms from May 1st, right?
From March 1st.
March 1st. From March 1st. Why? Okay, so let me explain a little bit about what this is. What I read is the following. Public schools, which are the school that the local school authorities, right? They're the authority in the place that you live in. If you don't have the means to send your child to private school, they're the ones who are responsible for your child's education. They have the right to dictate in private schools that are not governed by another body who the teachers are in your schools, what your curriculum is, and if your child should be in private school or should be transferred out. And then they will give you a time frame, a reasonable to them time frame in which you have to transfer your child.
So what makes your private school a private school anymore?
Exactly. So which essentially says your private school is a subdivision of a public school. Now, the discussion of how we got here is a whole nother discussion, which we do have to keep having because we shouldn't have gotten here. It's crazy that we have gotten here. This has to be the beginning of a conversation. But right now where we are is that this bill is not an actual bill. It is open to public opinion. Now, what happens is that we're very, very lucky that we live in America and things don't just move forward without letting the people who it affects raise their voice and say, sorry, no, this really doesn't work for me. You're representing me and I'm not okay with that. So our job is we were given 90 days to say, you know what, do we submit this bill or do we not? What is the public going to say? Now, if the public is quiet, it moves along because obviously the public didn't care. They agree with it. Shtika kaida, let's move forward. If the public says, no, not only are we upset, so many of us are upset. 200,000 of us are saying, no, what are you thinking? Then they're going to say, maybe this isn't the right choice. And that's our point. Our point is that we have to stand up and say, if I am spending time, money, resources, choosing a specific type of education for my child, choosing a Yiddish chinuch for my child, I don't care what school you're putting your kid in, modern Orthodox, Sephardi, Chabad, it's affecting everyone, right?
Yeah, so, and the truth is, if you look at the schools that are joining, it's all across the Torah spectrum. It's Hasidish, it's Litvish, it's Sephardish, it's exactly what you just said, modern Orthodox. There's 4 or 5 schools I saw, they have their own pages. We are joining together with the entire Torah spectrum and saying, this doesn't work.
Right. So what we're saying is that we want to have autonomy in our schools. We want to choose for our children what we know is best for our children. We want to be able to give our children a Jewish education. We want to be able to decide that our kids are going to learn Gemara and our kids are going to learn Mishnayos and our kids are going to learn Navi and Hysteria and all the subjects that aren't found in a public school, because that is our choice to have for our children.
And not only that, to not teach things that are contrary to our values. It's not only about what yes to teach, but it's also what not to teach. We don't have to be teaching things that are not in line or not in sync with Torah values.
Right. And we want to also have people who are role models to our children, people who live in the life that we're living. And Baruch Hashem, today we have science teachers and math teachers and American history teachers who are all living a frum life where they're able to, and we want to continue to have the power to have a frum principle. These are the things that we want to have. And we don't want someone else to tell us, well, in a week, you need to switch your kid to a public school. It's crazy to even think that
right.
Could be
it doesn't even, it's so ludicrous that people don't believe this is real. Like, how could this happen?
I didn't believe it. I was like, okay, so stop being dramatic. Like, we see the headlines all the time from things. Oh, our chinuch is like, I was like, okay, it's under attack. Like, let's not be so dramatic. Like, how, like, are you serious?
Right.
Yes, it's actually serious.
We want to
I also want to bring to people the point is it serious? Yes, it's absolutely serious. Do we have to do something about it to make sure we never get to the state again? Yes. But I also, for whoever's listening and saying, oh, well, it's not an actual bill yet. It's not up for law yet. You're right. But we have to make sure it doesn't get there, right? So we have to make sure that we aren't going to be at a state where our hands are more tied than they are now. Right now, all we need is public noise. We need people to say, no, this is not okay. And then it's off the table. As soon as there's noise, it's off the table. That's really the goal right now.
Right. And though this came up a few years ago and signatures took it off the table, we have to be committed to being here. In other words, we don't know what's coming next. We are here and committed to our chinuch, to our values, and it's not a one-time thing. This is long-term. We want to look at our chinuch, evaluate our own chinuch, improve our own chinuch. Chinuch is our number one value. I mean, this has been mentioned numerous times, but I want to say it again. The Tzemach Tzedek was arrested 22 times because he said, do not mess. The government cannot interfere with the Yiddish pure chinuch of our children. It's just not an option. So this is kind of like in our DNA. This is what we do. We say, no, you cannot touch our private education.
Right. Now, I want to bring another thing up. Okay. So if people are thinking, oh, but maybe oversight is a good thing. If you want to change anything in your school, you need to go to your school and have a voice and put yourself forward. This is not the way to do it. Okay. This is not going to give us anything better than what we have now. And I will tell you that I think that, at least from my experience, that when I've worked with schools, they work with you. Like, they want to see innovation and they want to see improvement and they want to please the parents. So it's, if you think that this is the way to change the chinuch, it isn't the way to change the chinuch, not for the better. So if you want to, if that's the reason that's holding you back from saying, okay, I'm signing, then I would very much encourage you to take the time, energy, and effort.
Rivky, did you see how many schools are on the list? We, Baruch Hashem, have an option of schools. Choose your school. Choose your school. But that's what this is all about. Parent autonomy, knowing what's best for our children, and saying to the government, We do not want the state level to be interfering with our personal investment. Like you said, the money that we spend, the Mesiras Nefesh that we have literally to pay for private school tuition, we cannot watch private school become like a public school.
By the way, also, I want to tell you something. I think it's a non-issue when you realize that that's really what it's about. So one of the interesting things that I did is when we were having this conversation while I was reading, I was like, okay, Master Shabbos is a great night on Instagram. Let me see what people say. And I kind of brought this up, and I think it's a non-issue. Like I asked, one of the things I asked, and there was a few things that I posted on there. One of the things I said is, do you think governments should have a decision on the curriculums in our schools? And everyone said no. It was like almost unanimous. I would say maybe 2 people said, maybe 3 people said yes. Like it was very like, no. And I think that if we look at this as it's a very simple issue. Should your private schools be under the jurisdiction of a public school? And if you think of it like that, you think to yourself, what? No way. Like, why? Why would I pay $20,000 to get what I could get for free? And do I want what's being offered for free? No, I don't. There's a reason I'm spending that money. So if there's a reason that you're spending the money, if there's a reason that you value this, if there's a reason that you want your kids to have a firm education of any sort, it's a non-issue. That's really what it is. It's a non-issue. Now, once you start reading the bills and you want to say, how did we get ourselves here to begin with? Where is our governing body? What are the changes I want to make? That is a separate discussion.
Right now, it's an invitation for a good discussion. In other words, I do think this is a good time to talk about our education and improvement. And we encourage that, and we should, and maybe we should be creating more curriculum offices and things like that. But for this issue, we're going to wrap up here. I just wanted to bring you Rivky, who read everything in case you didn't have the time. And she's here to say, yes, it's real. And yes, we need you to sign. Please go to protectchinuch.com and sign and protest that you do not want this state to interfere with private education. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Rivky, for joining.
Thank you. Hatzlacha Rabba.